Hey everyone, how are you? I just wanted to throw up some models over here on the computer, just give you an idea of what I'm thinking with this storm. Basically, there's going to be a Texas, Colorado type low developing down in the southern plains, and it's going to make its way over to the east coast later on in the week, towards the middle to later part of the week. The real question with this low is whether it's going to be snow or rain or windy or what. And I'm just running through some of the models over here. I'm pretty interested in the 12 Zulu NAM, the latest one to come out. The 0 Zulu hasn't come out yet. But what it's doing is at the end of the run, it's dropping the model, or at least dropping the low, down somewhere over Kansas, northern Oklahoma, really more or less towards Colorado. If the low does develop over here, depending on how much pressure is associated with the ridge coming down and whether we can get the trough to really deepen and go negative, the low might swing out and come up this way, and that could give us some snow here in southern Ontario and other parts of upstate New York and whatnot. Uh, that solution seems possible, but I don't know if that'll really happen, especially this time of the year. Looking at the 12 Zulu GFS, we can see that the GFS really wants to put the main body of the low up over here in Sault Ste. Marie or northwestern Ontario and sort of drag it across. Like I said, I don't know if I particularly believe this solution, but we never know, right? The low could come across and do something like that if the GFS is correct. It's showing more of a traditional setup here where you have your warm sector in this area, you have your fuzzy warm front coming in, and the cold front sweeping in behind. This is more or less a classic situation. But in order to achieve this situation, the genesis point of the center of the low is a little further north than the NAM has it. As you can see right over here. This is where the real isobars are being packed in, and we're getting the inversion over here. Everything's going inverted and the energy is looping up like that. We'll see if that's right. Looking at yesterday's 0 Zulu GFS, we can see a slightly different situation with the low, what was the main low up over northern Lake Michigan. It sort of dissipates, and then the Atlantic low takes over, and it does more of a classic northeaster thing where nor'easter type thing where the trough goes highly negative tilt and the body of the low backs into Nova Scotia and drops a fair bit of snow and rain and winds and that sort of stuff. Like I said, I don't know if I agree with this solution either. It seems fairly reasonable, but my main problem is the genesis point of the low. Lows that typically do form in that Colorado, Texas region don't like to really go that far north. On occasion they do, but not when you have a ridge, an associated cold pool coming down the way we're seeing it in this map over here. And just to take a look at the NAM, what we're seeing is a similar situation to this is the 0 Zulu NAM, pardon me, similar situation to the GFS, except it's a little far behind. Though the wave of energy in the NAM is still over the Rocky Mountains, over much of the west coast. It really hasn't shown its genesis point yet, and that's just because it goes beyond the end of the run for the 0 Zulu NAM. But depending on our plethora of situations, assuming that we do see the genesis point somewhere between northern Texas and Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado, assuming the genesis point is in this area, somewhere over here, I don't think I expect to see energy branch up into this region. I would expect the core of the low to form over here, the cold air to sweep in more or less like this, and the trough to go negative over the lakes region. Now, I don't know if that means we'll necessarily see snow, at least in the Great Lakes and southern Ontario because of the time of year, but there is a potential we could see something. Like I said, I just wanted to clarify some of my thoughts on this system. I haven't even put in any of the upper level maps, and that's a whole nother story by itself, but nonetheless, it's an interesting low to look at, and it'll provide some interesting forecasting over the next couple of days. We have to remember this is a transition period for the models. Typically, the models don't do too well overall during seasonal transitions just because they'll either over-amplify some of the patterns that develop or under-amplify the patterns. They'll try to force down the cold air sooner rather than later, or the warm air, they'll have it push north or recede if it's spring or fall. And this is sort of a tough time for the models, but now that we're going into the end of November, we are truly entering the winter season. And traditionally, we see our first half-decent bout of snow in the first week or two of December. And from then on, we really enter the winter period. So this may be that first bout of snow. I don't know. It's still too early and things are still way too up and down. We have this whole mess off the Atlantic coast that we have to deal with. We've got the ridge over north central Ontario that's sort of humming and hawing over what it's going to do. And of course, we have the whole Genesis issue with the south central plains. Depending on what actually happens down there, that'll more or less tell us where the low is going to go and how it's going to react. But without that Genesis actually occurring yet, or any of the main real factors lining up, prior to that Genesis, because it's still too early, we don't even have any of the troughs or short waves or anything in place that will lead to the development of that low. It's still a tough call, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully this video is enlightening you somewhat, although I don't know how useful it is, but we'll see.